here with us. And then we have our Indian section, and we're going to start as we did traditionally before, and we have Indian artists with us, and I will say the names wrong, and Sambhaji, and he will be translated by Kaustubh. He was already with us. So first of all, welcome everybody back here to Seagull Talk. Abhishek, you missed, I don't know if you were able to listen into Carrie. She talked about you and mentioned you and how inspiring it was for her, what you do, what you said, and what you did. So really, welcome. Haji, tell us a little bit about you and your work.
Okay. No problem. You can pronounce like anything. What is his name?
How do you say? How do you say it really?
Sambhaji, G.
Sambhaji, yeah.
G. Yes. What's his name? Forget.
My name is Frank.
Wow, nice.
Frank, yeah. Nice to meet you. So tell us a little bit about you and your work. What are you involved in India?
I'll speak in English. If it is not possible, then I will speak in Hindi. See, we are a school of humanity, that is in Marathi, Manus Kichi Shala, the school for humanity. And we are artist group, basically. In pandemic, our government, Indian government, was not able to work properly. I'm feeling very sorry to say this thing, but the whole thing was a mess. और उसके अंदर अगर हम देखेंगे कि ये जो मोदी सरकार है, इन्होंने इसके बीच में बहुत सारी चीजें की, जैसे अभी सेकेंड वेव वाज वेरी डिफिकल्ट, और उसमें वो हमारा एक स्नान रहता है गंगा में, वो कुंभ मेला भी हुआ, वो कुंभ मेला की वजह से बहुत सारा चीज हुआ. तो पहले जो फर्स्ट फेज में, इन फर्स्ट फेज फॉर 2 months, तो हम तो वी फील कि क्या होगा, देखेंगे what exactly will be happen, it जाएगा, the corona will go, but it was not like that. And then,
yeah, if I can interrupt you, Kaustubh, it's not easy to hear. I think maybe there's a sound problem. Can you tell a little bit what he said and summarize?
What he said as of now is that the Modi government was not sort of capable of handling the pandemic, and there was this event, the holy Ganges bath that happens every year in which is known as the Kumbh Mela. I think it was mentioned prior to this as well. So that has created a larger sort. The second wave is sort of has begun from there. So that it's that much has been said as of now. Yeah.
हम लोगों ने पहला जो फेज आया था उसमें फिर 1-2 महीने के लिए राह देखा, और हमने देखा कि हमारे जो गरीब लोग हैं, जो मतलब जिनका कोई सहारा नहीं है, ऐसे लोग जो है वो बहुत है, मतलब ब्रिज के नीचे रहने वाले, झुग्गी झोपड़ियों में रहने वाले. तो हमने तो कभी पैसा इकट्ठा नहीं किया.
Yeah, let's translate. 1 second.
Hello.
Yeah. Can you?
Somebody said mute झाला मध्ये. तुम्ही परत एकदा बोलाल का?
Hello.
हाँ, आता ऐकू येतं.
पहले फेज में हम लोगों ने 1-2.
Kaustubh, can you maybe repeat what he said? I could not.
Yeah, I'm repeating. पहले फेज में हम लोगों ने एक आर्टिस्ट होने के नाते हम लोग राह देखे क्या होगा करके, लेकिन बाद में हमने देखा कि हमारे देश में जो स्लम्स में रहने वाले और ब्रिज के नीचे रहने वाले और जिनका कोई सहारा नहीं, ऐसे बहुत सारे लोग हैं, नोमैड्स है. तो ऐसे लोगों के लिए कुछ करना चाहिए करके हम लोग थोड़ा पैसा जमा करने का कोशिश किया. तो हमने कभी पैसे के लिए काम नहीं किया.
Let's translate. We understand.
Yeah. So he said, initially 1 or 2 months after when the pandemic began, they waited for the government to do anything, and especially his focus was around a lot of people who are dispossessed, homeless, people who don't have any means to sort of fend for themselves. So he and his group waited for the government to intervene, but since no help came, so he took the initiative to sort of help these people and then started collecting funds and other resources for them.
हम लोगों ने कभी पहले पैसे मांगा नहीं था पब्लिक से, लेकिन जब हमने पैसा मांगना शुरू किया तो गूगल पे से, बाकी चीजों से करीबन 9 लाख रुपए आया, क्योंकि लोगों का भरोसा हमारे ऊपर इस तरह से है कि हम लोग प्रामाणिक तरीके से काम करते हैं और कोई एनजीओ नहीं, हम ना किससे पैसा लेते हैं ना किसको पैसा देते हैं, हम गाना गाने वाले लोग हैं, गाँव में जाके गाना गाते हैं.
Let's translate.
So what he said was, once he started sort of asking for donations, people they collected almost 1 million rupees through individual donations. He himself does not work under any NGO on a non-profit banner, but because he himself is this cultural icon in his community and elsewhere in the country, people trusted him to sort of give that and trusted with their money and sort of donated that money to him.
हम लोगों ने इसके लिए ऑनलाइन ही काम शुरू किया था, और ये काम कैसा करते थे हम लोग की जो हमारे कार्यकर्ता जो गांव-गांव में हैं, उनके जरिए से हम मालूमात करते किसके घर में चूल्हा नहीं जला है, वो देखते थे और उधर का दुकानदार का नंबर लेते थे गूगल पे का, उसको भेजते थे पैसा, वो सामान देता था और उसका एक फोटो हमको मिलता था कि भाई उसको सामान मिल गया. तो ऐसे हम लोगों ने करीबन 10 लाख रुपया भेजा.
Let's translate.
So what they did was, the way they distributed the money that came to them was that they had a network of people across the state, and from that network they would know who's not able to sort of being able afford like the basic necessities, and so they would make a list, and in that locality they would send the money directly to a grocer, and then the grocer would sort of deliver the essentials to the family who was not able to afford them due to the pandemic.
संभाजी,
इस तरह से
संभाजी, एक मिनट, नमस्ते, मैं अभिषेक.
अभिषेक,
हाँ सर, मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि 2-3 लाइन में ना 2-3 लाइन बोल के फिर ट्रांसलेट होने दीजिए ताकि छूट ना जाए, नहीं तो छूट जाएगा. आपने जो बोला, हाँ आप 2-3 लाइन बोलिए, फिर कौस्तुभ को करने दीजिए, तो ठीक है. थैंक यू सर.
तो ये एक काम किया, और दूसरा एक हम लोगों ने क्या किया कि जब लोग बंबई छोड़ के पैदल निकले, यूपी के लिए, बिहार के लिए, साउथ इंडिया के लिए पैदल निकले गांव के लिए, तो वो लाखों में लोग थे और उनको मतलब मालूम ही नहीं कि क्या क्या पॉसिबिलिटीज है बाहर जाने के बाद में. तो हम लोगों ने एक हेल्पलाइन शुरू किया, जिसके आधार से हम लोगों ने हेल्पलाइन के थ्रू जो रास्ते पे जो हमारे लोग हैं, हम अभी नासिक से लोग जा रहे हैं तो नासिक में हमारा कार्यकर्ता है, तो हम नासिक में फोन करके बोलते थे कि भाई ये लोग आ रहे हैं, कोई गाड़ी होगा, कुछ होगा तो उनको हेल्प करो, पानी अनाज जमा करके दो. तो ये हेल्पलाइन शुरू किया, और जो लोग अटक गए थे स्टेशनों पे, वो लोगों के लिए हम लोगों ने हेल्पलाइन दिया. तो उनसे हमने बोला कि भाई गवर्नमेंट क्या कर रहा है, या कौन सा ट्रेन कब जा रहा है.
Yeah, let's translate. Yeah.
So the other thing that they did was, because Bombay, from Bombay, there was a lot of people migrating outside. So what they did was they started a helpline for those people to inform them about, because there was no communication. I mean, there was very less communication about which trains are going out, what are the other ways of leaving the city and going elsewhere. So they started a helpline, and they sort of liaised with the transport services here and there, and then they would provide that information to people who wanted to get out of the city. So
yeah. So can you ask a question in the theater work? What is his theater work about? Can he tell us a bit how he is engaged? What form of theater and performance?
Sambhaji sir, ते विचारतात की तुमच्या परफॉर्मन्स आणि म्हणजे तुमच्या सादरीकरणाबद्दल ते विचारतात की कुठल्या फॉर्म मध्ये तुम्ही परफॉर्म करता, तुमचं युजली तुम्ही काय थीम्स घेऊन तुम्ही परफॉर्म करता त्याच्यावर विचारतात. तुम म्यूट आहे, म्यूट आहे.
हाँ हेलो.
हाँ
तीसरा चीज हम लोगों ने किया, अभी ये लास्ट पॉइंट है कि हम लोगों ने जो हमारा स्कूल ऑफ ह्यूमैनिटी जो है, हम इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के जो मूल्य है वो घर घर में जाके बोलते थे. तो वो बड़े लोगों के लिए करते थे, लेकिन एक छोटे बच्चे लोगों के लिए ये जो वैल्यू सिस्टम है, नॉट ओनली कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल वैल्यूज बट द ह्यूमन वैल्यूज, और हमारे देश में जो चारवाक से लेके बुद्धा से लेके जो भी महामानव हो गए उन्होंने भी कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट किया है. नेचर एंड ह्यूमन बीइंग के बीच में जो एक तनाव है या दोस्ती है उससे भी कुछ आए, तो वो आधार पे हम लोगों ने एक स्कूल शुरू किया है. तो वो हम लोगों ने ऑनलाइन शुरू किया.
इसको ट्रांसलेट कर लेते हैं इतना, फिर आएंगे आपको वापस, है ना.
So one of the project that he has started is called the School of Humanities, which essentially what they do is they right from beginning, from Charvak, who was one of the earliest rational philosophers, till Buddha, from that to Buddha to Ambedkar, a lot of constitutional values that we see in India right now. So the School of Humanity sort of takes those values and sort of propagates them in communities. And they were doing initially it only for like adults, but then in last few months they've also devised programs where they do the similar kind of performances for children. Yeah.
ये जो स्कूल है, स्कूल ऑफ ह्यूमैनिटी, मानुष्य की शाला, ये पहले हम लोगों ने झोपड़ी में चालू किया था और झोपड़पट्टी में चालू किया था. एक विहार है, बुद्ध विहार, उसके उधर. तो जैसा कोरोना आया तो बंद हो गया, सब लॉकडाउन हो गया. तो 2 महीने 3 महीने के लिए हम लोग राह देखा, फिर हम लोगों ने ऑनलाइन शुरू किया. अभी ये जो लॉकडाउन है उसका हमको फायदा बहुत हुआ. मतलब ये केस, मतलब स्कूल के केस में हम लोगों ने फिर ये ऑनलाइन शुरू किया स्कूल. और वो
जी इतना बोल ले ऑनलाइन के बारे में. कॉस्ट थोड़ा ऑनलाइन वाला बता दो.
So in the lockdown, what they did was they started the School of Humanity project. They took it online, and he said that the online has also helped them to reach perhaps a larger mass of people, because when they started it was located in a small sort of community spaces, Buddha viharas in and around the area. But when it went to online, it reached a larger mass.
Yeah. Just as a question, if he is planning to read something or share something, it might also be a good moment. But we are happy to have the conversation also.
Sambhaji sir, तुम्ही काही सादर करणार आहात का?
हाँ, मैं गाना गाएगा.
हाँ,
गाना गाएगा, लेकिन ये गाना तो हिंदी में है और ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. हमारे देश में जो फासिस्ट रूल है वो आने का जब चांस था तब मैंने लिखा हुआ ये गाना है. अभी ये गाना बहुत सारा यंग लोग गाता है और मूवमेंट जिधर जिधर है उधर पीपल आर सिंगिंग लाइक एनीथिंग. सो आई एम सिंगिंग दिस सॉन्ग.
ये बता देते पहले
हिटलर के साथ.
बता दे आपने कुछ बोला, आपने जो बोला हम बता देते हैं, फिर आप गाइए.
हाँ,
ताकि उनको पता रहे ना, है ना. कौस्तुभ बता दे.
So this song is perhaps one of the most iconic songs of resistance movement in India in last few years. It's a clarion call to sort of it's about the fascist regime that is coming, and I mean it's just a wonderful song. I mean, sir.
Okay, I'll sing it. I'm alone, but I'll sing for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
All my dear friends, who is ruling us in this country and world nowadays? So I'm talking about that. ये हिटलर के साथी जनाजों के बराती, पूछते नहीं इंसान को कौन है तू, पूछते हैं धर्म और जाति. अरे इनकी सूरत को पहचानो भाई, इनसे संभल के रहना रे भाई. गलती करोगे आए भरोगे, जालिम का जमाना झरीला भाई. चोर चिट्टर बैठे हैं भाई, बड़े सेटर बैठे हैं भाई, कुछ दिल्ली में बैठे हैं भाई, कुछ बम्बई में बैठे हैं भाई. Now, is it do you want any translation of this thing?
हाँ
So I
हाँ
will
करते हैं
stop.
ना, इतना मजेदार है. कौस्तुभ बताओ भाई.
So what he says that who are ruling us, and the answer to is that these are the friends of Hitler who are sitting in Delhi, who are sitting in the gully, and yeah. So basically, the song goes on, but I think somebody.
Okay, listen. ये हिटलर के साथी जनाजों के बराती, ये हिटलर के साथी जनाजों के बराती, पूछते नहीं इंसान को कौन है तू, पूछते हैं धर्म और जाति. इनकी सूरत को पहचानो भाई, इनसे संभल के रहना रे भाई. गलती करोगे आहे भरोगे, जालिम का जमाना जहरीला भाई. चोर चिटर बैठे हैं भाई, बड़े सेटर बैठे हैं भाई, कुछ दिल्ली में बैठे हैं भाई, कुछ बंबई में बैठे हैं भाई. बातें राम की चली है भाई, बातें रहीम की चली है भाई, बातें वेद की चली है भाई, बातें भेद की चली है भाई, बातें कुरान की चली है भाई, बातें कुरान की चली है भाई. राम कथा में डूबे हम भाई, राम लीला में डूबे हम भाई. अरे राम रहीम तो अपनी जगह पे, रोजी रोटी कहाँ ढूंढे रे भाई. अरे बड़े झोलर बैठे हैं भाई, बड़े सेलर बैठे हैं भाई, बड़े झोलर बैठे हैं भाई, बड़े सेलर बैठे हैं भाई. Will you please translate this thing, or should I continue?
I think
ट्रांसलेट कर लेते हैं.
okay.
We have 1 more minute. We have 1 more minute. Yeah.
So
So I sing a song. What is the अभी translation किधर करेंगे? वे नेट पे बैठे हैं भाई, वे जेट पे बैठे हैं भाई, इंटरनेट पे बैठे हैं भाई, जंबो जेट पे बैठे हैं भाई, खाली पेट हम बैठे हैं भाई, सूखे खेत पे बैठे हैं भाई, जल जिंदगी बैठे हैं भाई, वे साइबर के सेठ है भाई, हम सत्संग में बैठे हैं भाई, साधु संतों के संग में है भाई, आका राम के रंग में है भाई, सत्य साई की भाषा में भाई, सतयुग की आशा में भाई, सिलिकॉन के वैली में भाई, सिया राम का मार्केट है भाई, वॉल स्ट्रीट पे बैठे हुए भाई, वानर सेना हम बन गए भाई, अमेरिका से देते हैं झटका, अयोध्या में हमने खाया ये फटका. वे एक्टिंग करते हैं भाई, हम फाइटिंग में मरते हैं भाई, वे सेटिंग करते हैं भाई, हम वोटिंग करते हैं भाई.
Thank you so much. Maybe Kaustubh, give us a little bit an idea of what he sang about, and then we move on.
So basically, he's talking about how the political class keeps you busy in some very rudimentary conversations and takes away your attention from the real issue. So when he says, and when he usually sings it, he also says this one line that the form of capital is changing, and so Silicon Valley is the new the locus of ruling the world now. So the big data and whatever, and people are sort of kept engrossed in social media and stuff, and while they are being especially looted on the other side. And we do not get to know who's sort of ruling us and who's sort of looting us. So the song is about that. Yeah,
it's a really urgent song. We could feel the urgency and the importance. So really thank you for sharing. I'm now going to welcome all the guests. Normally we do it at the beginning, but we weren't all there first. Patricia, hi there. Where are you in Australia? Where are you?
I'm in Melbourne.
In Melbourne? And what time is it? It's afternoon or?
It's about 4 p.m.
4 p.m. And to the two Mihaelas, welcome. And where are you now and what time is it?
Hi, hello everyone. I am in Bucharest and it's 9 a.m. in the morning.
And Mihaela, you're Michailov? I think we just lost her, but I guess she's also in Romania and Bucharest. Could that be?
Yeah. She's in Romania, but she just said that she's in a village and her internet connection is very bad.
Yeah, that's good. So we are with Patricia anyway in this section. So Patricia, First of all, thank you for joining us again for Seagull Talk. I really still remember our talk so well, which you did, where you stayed up so late at the night. I think it was 2 o'clock or something, incredibly something, what you did. And I'm still thinking about what you said and your work, where you always said, you know, it's dedicated to the workers and the working class, that this is important to hear the stories we normally don't hear. And you are a playwright, and so tell us a little bit. How is the situation in the moment in Sydney?
In Melbourne.
Melbourne, sorry.
Both Melbourne and Sydney, and actually other states, we're in lockdown. So we're
really,
yeah. So you're captive in our homes, and there's I think 5 reasons you're allowed to go out of the house, and it's really, it feels so smug for us in Australia because our numbers are really low. And, but at the same time, there's a kind of incompetence of the vaccination program, and things just flare up all the time, and then they're closed down. And then there's the argument constantly about finance versus health, who you're willing to risk, and against the economy, and some fight for humankind, and others are all about making the money flow. So, but yeah, so we're in lockdown again. We seem to be periodically going in and out of lockdown.
Yeah, we saw all the photos from Australia, people at the beaches, while the world was in a way suffering. It looked so good, and now it's stunning to hear that you went into a lockdown, a serious one. And so what happened what's happening on the stages in Australia?
It is really miserable, and there's just been closure after closure of work, and a hope that something will go on, and then it might have one night and it's been closed again. So, and that does really, the expense of that is really prohibiting. And the worst thing that's happening in terms of theatre, from my perspective, is that the independent sector is being annihilated, and
really?
Nobody can risk backing small companies, small artists who are in smaller venues, because it's not economic. And if they get closed down and they can't rehearse, or you can't be in contact with each other for rehearsal, then the investment into those companies is too small. So it is a bit frightening I think, because I think who is the theatre in Australia that is going to say something about the world? Who is the most political? Who is the most inventive, and kind of learnt the ways to rip through the shit that's occurring? Is the independent voice, and that sector is just being hammered. So
do you feel your work?
It's a bit power.
Do you feel your work is in danger? I remember you, the play, the one which you came to New York and so it was about the voices of young girls, of women, and stories you normally won't hear. Do you feel it is having an impact on your work, or can you continue? Will your plays be shown?
I think it's had an impact on not just my sort of work, across the board. It's diminished so dreadfully, and so surprisingly enough, because you talk about cultural cringe in Australia a lot, and we've got a history of it, that we don't ever kind of cherish our own, and we import from America, and we import from Britain, and they're supposedly the cultural meccas, and we just get show after show, and often dreadful shows, I have to say,
yeah.
but and very conservative shows, and who gives a shit about love affairs, constantly, and that sort of domestic domain and very naturalistic work that is quite poor, and I think, and so that cultural cringe is sort of diminished in some way, because nobody's able to import the work that we normally import, and so there's a kind of appetite for some Australian work, but there are just too many theatres that are either dead now, finished, and or they're being nurtured by the government, but they will stick with conservative fare.
And how is your feeling? How's the atmosphere? Do you feel people can't wait to open up and then people go to theaters, or do you think this, if it's like for a year and a half or two, it will be not easy to get back into that mode? We had the great Russian director Kirill Serebrennikov with us, and he said when he reopened the Gorky Center, which he runs, in 40 minutes all tickets were sold out. He said people can't wait to come back. How is it in Australia? How is it in Melbourne? What do you think?
I mean, I had a show earlier this year called Runt, and it's had 2 small seasons in between lockdowns. It had was lucky, but there was a credible appetite to see it, and it's an independent theatre backed, and there were people, there was an audience for it very quickly. But it's a one-person show, so it's pretty economic, and she had to face an audience that was fully masked, and she says there's some advantages in that because she doesn't know whether people sneering or laughing or whatever they're doing. They look attentive though, being polite. But so yeah, I think there's a great appetite, but there's an anxiety. There's an anxiety about. So we're all spaced. There's no full quota. People. There's very small audiences. That's also an economic problem because you can't make your money back and with box office. And but yeah, there's no doubt both a hunger and an anxiety about going anywhere social. I see the pictures of the great big opening of Britain, and you see those people going night clubbing, and you go, wow. I certainly think that there's a propensity for that kind of craziness here when you unleash people from the rules, but it feels so foolhardy.
It's stunning. The low cases in Australia, they're complete shutdowns. Meanwhile, 60,000 people run Wembley Stadium for the European Championship without masks, chanting, singing for 2 hours basically, and outside also. Perhaps some people say 200,000 people were trying to get in, and we do not know where this will lead. Did the Australian government, do you feel supported? Are your friends, your colleagues, do you feel there is a safety net? Or is it what we heard from India, that the puppet master who we just spoke, who said, we losing, they will not come back. Young puppet people were thinking about entering, say, no, it's too unsafe, we will not continue this art. Do you feel?
I feel similarly. I think that you're already in kind of an obvious sort of slap in the face was that all the major institutions, learning institutions, have dropped their drama departments. Just almost one after the other, finished.
Really?
Like 5 of them, and big ones.
5 programs closed down in the last year.
5 universities in different states have closed their drama department. Yeah, and so you sort of go, where do you get that? Often that initial learning, and often universities are also really diverse in terms of their students. Where drama schools are full of mostly privileged middle-class white kids, those university courses have a greater diversity, and so you're kind of cutting out a whole lot of things that are going to affect the future really badly. I think there is kind of so few avenues to be able to, and why would you when the government has been terrible in supporting the arts in Australia. It is really low. We support football over the arts, like the arts is really not considered and just poorly nourished. I think last time we spoke, I think it's exacerbated by yes, certainly COVID has done is disastrous, but in a way it has just revealed already what was shitty. undernourished, poorly backed, was miserable in the first place, and getting more and more miserable and more strict with the conditions in which you could create something spontaneously. It's just got a million times worse now.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about your work and what you feel you have to represent as voice. I remember your play so beautifully written, so serious, so there was no fat or no lines. It was so clear cut and sharp and a bit dangerous also. Tell us a bit, what do you feel, who you speak for, and the importance of it perhaps for the time we live in now?
Oh, I'm sorry, kind of old fashioned, because I still talk about class, and class is sort of not at all on the agenda. It hasn't been on the agenda for a really long time. You know, we're supposedly classless, like you know, as if Britain was, you know, and it's just this extraordinary sense of who's privileged in this country, and the blatancy of it. Nothing's shifted. It has just got worse. And in fact, maybe there's a growing underclass because of the ignoring of it. But the arts is appalling in its classless notion, you know, that this is who we are. These people who are those who represent us, people who speak like this. So I'm interested both politically and artistically in representing a voice that's strong and brave and not sentimental, and that has a lot of pluck. You know, it is exciting to work like that. A lot of people talk about there's no appetite for it in terms of audience, but I don't believe it. That I think there's, you know, people are really hungry for works that try to say something about the world. Of course they are.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm not sure if you prepared some reading. If you have something, would be a good time now. If not, we continue our conversation.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to read Dylan Thomas's Do Not Go Gentle and Into That Good Night. And I'm going to read it because in what's happened in Australia, we have, compared to the world, few deaths, you know, relatively few, too many, but the majority of those deaths are old people. And it's just amazing how some of the language in media and in government voice is about how dispensable the aged are. And there's a kind of lack of care. There's a brutality in relationship to it. And so this is a kind of poem for all the aged people in the world that have been neglected and put at risk so foolishly. And so here we go. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light.
Yeah. And if there ever is a time to rage, you know, against the dying of the light, it is now. And in a way, this poem has the same urgency as the song Sambhaji, if I said right, sang. You know, it has something, a similarity of it as an outcry to it. So what do you see? Do you think Australia will come to a moment of reflection of perhaps what you said, point out what is wrong, what's not working, or do you feel this will be the end of the kind of theater scene you grew up with and it will not really come back, or will there be a positive change?
I fear that we're going to be taking a backward step, way backward for a long time. I think that I fear that the works that will be produced will become palatable. That there's a notion that we've had enough dreadful stuff that around us, we've had enough sense of danger, we've had enough of this, and so let's do work that has a sweetness, have a gentleness, let's have kind of a conservative view of theatre. And I think instead of raging, instead of resistance, instead of those words that are so unpopular, like a fight, the struggle, all those old left words that are hard for people to utilize now, I fear that we will turn our back on what's going on. And we have a tradition of it. I mean, we've been turning our back on people seeking asylum in this country for a really long time. We still justify it. Even a so-called left Labour Party never goes there, never offers anything except the same cruel intent to keep us away from them. And it's never ending. And so all those things will just get worse. It just we can't even bring back Australians into this country. We have been cruelly keeping them out because we fear COVID so much, and the expense of it. And so I just think whilst that thing where you sometimes remember there's a certain MP who crosses the floor about an issue and you think, oh my God, someone has stood up and absolutely defied the majority. Nobody crosses the floor in this country. It is so cruel.
Yeah, no, that is quite a bleak assessment, but I think it's honest and it's real, and we do believe here, as we often said, and also before here on this marathon, artists are on the right side, as we feel, of the fight for justice, for democracy, for progressive justice, and the freedom of speech. And we should all listen to what artists have to say. Australia should listen to your voice and really change and be an agent of change, because change is coming. Change maybe has already taken place, and it is important to react if one doesn't. We see in India at the moment what is happening, that a government that was not able or not interested, as Abhishek, if I understand it right, said, to serve its citizens, but it's looking for its own interests. So thank you all, for sharing with us, and we move now also to Romania, to a special country with a great theater tradition, actually, in Europe, and we had both Michaelas with us. So I don't know, with whom do we start? Mihaela, Drăgan, maybe we'll start with you. So how is the situation in Bucharest? What is going on? It was also quite complicated the last time we spoke about brutality against Roma, the police, beating up people because they were perceived as some, who carried the virus. It was irrational, and the government didn't put measures into place. Well, the guest workers were coming. So how is it at the moment? Is it lockdown has been lifted, and how is the situation?
No, we are not anymore in the lockdown, and actually the things are more relaxed now. The theaters started to open, and the COVID cases rate got down somehow. some people got vaccinated. I don't know, maybe Mihaela knows more about the whole situation, because I just spoke with her before and I said I want to be the artist in this.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Morning. I will be reading something that I wrote, and Mihaela will explain a little bit what is happening at the political and social situation now.
So tell us a little bit, Mihaela. We also missed where you were. You're not in Bucharest, right?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yes, because as Mihaela said, I'm quite in a remote part of Romania. I'm in a rural part with a lot of hens and a lot of pigs, and it's beautiful here, being very, very remote from the city. Yes, I would like to thank you for the invitation, and congratulations, Frank, for doing such a wonderful job this month, because you created a source of inspiration for all of us, and I wanted to thank you for all you've done. You've done a great job. Yes, in Romania, as Mihaela very well said, things are quite relaxed now in a way. The fact that artistic spaces got open, so you can see shows if you come to Romania. But we are still facing very problematic issues regarding the independent sector, the non-profit sector, the cultural sector. We are still fighting with the authorities, and in fact, not many changes have happened since we talked, because I remembered we talked about these territories of togetherness, but they didn't come. And I was thinking also that all these years, because we are fighting for a lot of time with national authorities, local authorities, and in a way, from my point of view, I really fed up resisting and fed up trying to survive, because I think it's a way of keeping us in a constant fight. I love fights, but sometimes you get tired, and you feel ignored, and you feel that your work is not really appreciated and does not count. This is really sad, because the non-profit cultural sector really got bigger and bigger every year, but we are still having the same funds. And this fight for surviving is in a way how to say, a very it's in a way a death, because we just keeping up or proving that we are resisting and we are existing, but we are not. We don't have decent conditions for our activities. We try to, how to say, to find some resources, physical resources, but also emotional resources, because it became it became more and more difficult to keep up cultural communities and cultural collectives, and people are really tired and are in a way very eager to work, but the conditions are not better. So
you are a playwright, right, and director. So tell a bit what you do.
So I'm a playwright. I'm also part of a cultural independent space in Bucharest, which is called Replica Center for Educational Theater. And I'm working there. I'm writing plays. I'm developing educational projects for kids, for teenagers, for different communities in the district. We in a way, as I said, we survived this period, but it was difficult because we had to pay rent every month. So we didn't succeed in having any subsidy for the space. We kept the space closed, but we pay rent. So this was the paradoxes of surviving, let's say. yeah, it was quite difficult, and there are also other spaces thinking to close up, because in a way it becomes impossible if you have to pay rent and keep a space closed. As I said, we tried to continue, but I really don't know for how long we'll be able to keep the space alive, and the artists that we have collaborated these times.
But some theaters are open to half capacities, or people go in with masks, without, or
yes, now they are some chose to open full space, and for you as audience to prove with a vaccinating certificate that you vaccinated, so you can go. Others decided to keep half capacity. Yes, in a way, you have this appearance that things are going on, and in a way they are, but the costs of survival are very big. And as Patricia said earlier, I guess what happened, that this COVID, this pandemic, really deepened all the problems that we already had, and digged them, and proved us that what we tried to ignore cannot be ignored, in fact, for a long period. And this kind of crisis just give birth to other problems, and deepen very strong systemic inequalities.
Yeah, this is true. And I think Schiller, a German playwright, who said, that what is so bad about evil, that new evil comes out of evil. It's not even that the situation is bad, or evil. Even because of that, more will come out because of what happened. Mihaela, tell us a little bit about you and your work, so especially our Indian colleagues, but also for our listeners. And thank you, listeners, really, for taking your time to tune in, for listening. And it's important to listen to the voices from India, but also from around the world. So thank you for sharing your time. But Mihaela, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
It's a question for me, yes?
Yeah.
Because that Mihaela already asked.
Yeah.
Yes. So I am an actress and playwright, and I co-founded a Roma feminist theater company here in Romania. We are also working as an independent group. And maybe for the people who don't have so much information about Roma people, and they make this confusion between Romanians and Roma, maybe I should mention that it's not the same thing. And we Roma people, we are a minority here in Romania, and my ancestors are coming from India, actually.
Oh,
And so yes, it's a difference. So this is my work. We have this theater company that is called Juglipen. We don't even have a space, so we just collaborate with different spaces, also with state theaters. And as Mihaela said, now after the pandemic, everything starts to be more and more difficult.
Yeah, I remember, your play, your performance, the dialogues, the monologues you put together of different women, and you gave voices to them. So a very strong work, which also was my idea, Babs, to put you together with Patricia. How is your work, your creative work, impacted by the situation? Do you feel you have the energy, the inspiration, the drive to do something, or is, as the other Michailov pointed out, is it actually a moment where the fight gets too much?
Yeah. Actually, during this pandemic, me and my colleagues, we have been working a lot. We didn't stop for a moment, because this is what is happening when you are a freelancer artist. And we just adapt somehow, because we did the different projects. Like I navigated from theater to video art. I made a short, I made a short movie, I made a series of video monologues with all the actors from the company. So we moved a little bit in the digital era, but of course we are eager and we missed stage and we want to be again on stage and working again in theater, because this frustration that you share everything through internet, to social platform and so on, becomes more and more deep. So we will be back in September in theaters, hopefully, if there will not be another lockdown here in Romania, because the situation is still good now. And as Mihaela said, the theater open, and some of them they open with full capacity. I attended last week a show with full capacity, people wearing masks, of course, but yes, so we hopefully there will not be another lockdown and more people will get vaccinated here in Romania. So yes, everything will become come to the normal.
Yeah, amazing. I remember the work you did also with the migrant workers, who against all rationalities were able to get in, to get out, but not back in again. And just for economic gain of I guess, mostly also of the government. But did you have something to share with us, right? You prepared a reading.
Yes,
so let's hear it if possible.
Yes, sure. I just want to say that I wrote this poem the last year in lockdown, exactly that period that you mentioned, when the police brutalized a lot of Roma communities. So I wrote the poem, but for a poem for a little girl from community who see all this violence, and I just wanted to give them a little bit of empower. So yes, I will be reading this poem. That is called the Techno Witch, and it's written actually for the movie I made that is called "The Future is a Safe Place Hidden in My Braids," because it was a period when everything seems so drastic that I wanted to imagine something more positive. So the girl asked me to read her fortune. She wanted to see the future. I saw the memory of her pain for both of us. The past was flowing through our veins faster than the rivers that used to drown our ancestors, killed by their owners. I did the tarot reading and I saw our future. More real than reality itself, I was shown those who came before me. The past galloped in our bodies to make room for what was to come. We sought our future deep in our roots to understand our mission. I saw myself in the girl's eyes, reflected like in a mirror. We were one. And then I saw a heavy rain that shall be cast upon us with drops of fire, which will seep the earth, and nothing will ever be the same. What seems to stand still will be fleeting. What seems strong will be weak. What seems to be a spark will become a great fire, and then ashes. I saw. Neither the rivers nor the seas will drown us as they did during slavery. The power that we have gained in all these years of oppression will not let us sink in the depths of the water. We will create a new world from the dust we carry on our wandering feet after our long journey to freedom. We are the movement. We are the wave that swallows, the fire that annihilates, the roars of the persecuted whom we never forget. We never truly died when they thought they killed us. We never truly burned when they thought we are ashes. The water never truly swallowed us when they thought that they had drowned us. Girl, I read your fortune to dispel your worries. The enemy should not win. When the power of the darkness of your skin defeats him, then you'll know that you're not alone. When his white skin values nothing, you'll know that you are the warrior. Tear down the forces that hold you back from your destiny of rebellion. You are lit by the thousands of flames kept ablaze for you, for those who came before you. The force of our age will protect you at the first light of dawn. Your name is liberation. Go and show them the way. The time has come to show to the world the beauty of Madraskali people. Understand the help of the darkness. There will be peace. Should I stop? Do we still have time? Because I just have a little bit more.
Yeah, we have some more time. Yeah.
Okay. Understand the help of the darkness. There will be peace. You are never alone. You are part of a greater plane bigger than all of us. The future belongs to you. Use the gifts they left us. We are not a cursed people like the white man lies made us believe. We are the bringers of change. Use the darkness from within you to become a witch. You are the vision. What seems infinite becomes the end. Don't fear the brutal words within your fragile heart. Use your rage to create the future. I look at you and I see survival. I read your power in the cards. It's time to let our ancestors rest in peace. I saw Bahtale Roma in the future. It's time to reach the next level. We are with you, and we are many. The future is ours. Okay, so I will stop here.
Thank you so much. And I think, you are so right to say, we are the movement, in your plural, and we are the future. The little girl, she is the future. And do you think a little girl, like if Mihaela Drăgan would be a little girl, will the future be better for her than it was for you in Romania?
Yes, I mean, this is what we try to do, to create somehow a better future for these little girls and for the new generation, and at least a safe space, a safe world. Yes, there is still hope. This is why we are here, and this is why we keep continuing doing our art and our theater shows and so on.
Yeah, and you are a role model that you created the first female Roma theater group. It is so important to be represented on stage. It stands for so much more. It is symbolic, it is imaginary, but it's also a real presence. And one can only imagine what your life would have been had you seen already as a little girl, these companies up there performing, telling the stories, and it would have made you feel a bit more at home, and also for everybody in Romania and Europe, to say yes, it's part of that colorful mixture of people who happen to be on that place. So really, thank you for sharing, both you, Mihaela, again, and coming out and taking the time, Patricia, to tell us what is happening in Australia, and as bleak as it is and tough, but it's something very real. And I think this is what your work always is about. And it's something, what she says, it has to be taken serious. And Sambhaji, if I say it right, really thank you for being there, and for the school you created for humanity, and your song, the urgency of it. We heard that. We might not have understood every word, but we understood your call. So this is truly outstanding. So Abhishek, thank you so much, for listening and being with us. I think we did something amazing here, and what you put together also is Tanvi is a great overview of a theater also in India, the great tradition, and it is really stunning to hear. So we're going to move over to our next session, and maybe Abhishek, if possible, you can introduce the artists. And again, thank you all for joining, and have a great day in Europe, and I hope we'll see each other in person one day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, friend.
Thank you.
Thank you.